Hello and welcome to Lunch Therapy. I'm your host, Joel Marshall. Happy Friday the 13th. Today is the 613th episode of Lunch Therapy. So grateful to all you viewers out there. And now we have a guest today, very special guest, Andy Huggins, who appeared on season 13 of America's Got Talent. So it's Friday the 13th. We're episode 613. And we have somebody from the 13th season of America's Got Talent. So happy, lucky 13. Let's get into the show. It's called Lunch Therapy. On Fridays, we interview comedians, actors, filmmakers. Sometimes we interview people who breathe. Well, that's most people, I guess. Let's get into this thing. Lunch Therapy. All right. First, I want to say thank you to all the Patreons of the show. If you go to patreon.com/Joel Marshall, you can donate to the show. It's like a subscription. You can put in any amount. These are our Patreons that have supported the show over the years. Couldn't do it without you. Really appreciate it. Some of these people are comedians. Some of them are lunatics. Some of them are sane. So really enjoy having you, all of you. And let's get to the breathing. At the top of the show, we always breathe. Behind me is Chakra Vibrations. This is a YouTube channel. If you notice there, in the corner over there is his cat, Perseus. I'm going to put my cat on the screen as well. This is Charlie. Charlie, you're taking up too much space. That's Charlie live there, slumbering away, getting ready for the Andy Huggins interview today. Some of those Patreons are jokers. It's true. We were watching the Joker Feu de Bleu Bleu last night on HBO Max. Saw part of that. Gonna get through that movie. It's very unusual. It's a very unusual film. And I like unusual things. Like breathing. I like to breathe. So let's do this thing in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. One more, in through the nose, out through the toes. And let it go. All right. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Perseus. Thank you, Chakra Vibrations. Let's get into this show. All right. Today I've got Andy Huggins. Andy Huggins, many of you know, he's a veteran comedian. And I don't mean that he fought in a war, although he may have. I don't know. His career has spanned over 45 years. He started in 1977. He came to Los Angeles from Virginia, from what I understand. He was a regular at the Comedy Store back then. His name is on the wall at the Comedy Store. I challenge you to take a picture next to it, send it into Lunch Therapy. He also is a member of what they called the Texas Outlaw Comics, which is a group of legendary comedians like Bill Hicks, Sam Kinison. And he also, over the years, he went back to Houston. He came to Los Angeles, was at the Comedy Store, did all this, went back to Houston with a lot of these other comedians because at the time it was a good place to get a lot of stage time, and apparently there was a thriving comedy community there. Now he's in his 70s, and he was on America's Got Talent. I was saying that before, season 13. He just came out with his comedy special, Early Bird Special, which there's a link in the show notes to his link tree, so check that one out. It's hilarious. He's known for his one-liners. People say he's the king of the one-liners. So any of you that are trying to hone your skills in writing jokes, he's going to be a really good resource for us. And he's also somebody that can connect with all ages. And I think that's because he's so good at writing jokes and delivering them that anybody can enjoy them. Happy Friday, Howard Ronan, another brilliant comedian, is in the chat room. Let's get into this thing. We call it Interview Friday here at Joel Marshall's Lunch Therapy.
The hard part of stand-up comedy used to be comedy. My butt is shrinking. You can't tell, but right now I'm twerking. Walking can be difficult for me at times. I do worry about tripping and falling, so I wear a helmet. I also worry about looking ridiculous, so I carry a skateboard. I'm not on Twitter, but I will stop people on the street and tell them shit they're not interested in.
Not even coming soon. It's already out. Andy Huggins. Andy, welcome to Lunch Therapy.
Thank you, Joel. How are you? First things first.
Yeah.
What does F-R-O-I mean?
Friday. Well, that is very astute of you to ask that, Andy. On the show, we have very few rules, but one of the rules is if you say hi, you have to say hoy instead. And we don't know why that is. Maybe it's some Dutch pronunciation of hi, so we say hoy. But then the chat room has kind of carried that over into saying Friday instead of Friday. So Howard says happy Friday. There you go.
Howard, happy Friday to you.
You are very mysterious there, Andy. It's a little bit like you're in your lair. I like it.
Yeah, it's my apartment, not surprisingly, and I can't seem to improve the picture at all. I turned off all the lights, but we're going to have to make do.
We're just glad to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Can you tell us, okay, I just want to start out because it's really interesting to a lot of us how stand-up comedy kind of started in Los Angeles and what it was like back in the 70s when you first came to Los Angeles. Did you come to Los Angeles to become a comedian? Is that why you came here?
Specifically, yeah. I was living in Virginia, had done a little bit of stand-up comedy, but I mean, not much at all. But I knew I wanted to do stand-up. So I figured and there were no comedy clubs around.
Yeah.
Not anywhere other than, as far as I knew, New York and Los Angeles. So the Comedy Store in Los Angeles was the venue I kept hearing about on television. So I figured, okay, we'll give Los Angeles a try. So that's why I went out there.
And at the time, were there two comedy stores? Was there one in Westwood and one in Los Angeles?
There was one in Westwood and one in Hollywood.
In Hollywood. What was that one in Westwood like?
It was mostly attended by college students and tourists, like in Hollywood, was mostly tourists. But uh, the Westwood was a younger crowd, mostly UCLA students. They had their share of tourists. Wasn't as well attended as the Sunset
Hmm.
Club, which is why it closed when it did. But it was a good club. Good. That's where I was most of the time while I was out there. I did some performing at the Comedy Store on Sunset, but mostly I was at Westwood.
Wow.
That was like the AAA ball club was Westwood.
Yeah.
Sunset was major leagues. Westwood was AAA.
That was really AAA. And who were some of the people that were back then that you were doing stand up with? Or who were some of your favorite people?
Like George Miller, the late George Miller was one of my favorite, but there was Leno and Letterman, uh, Jimmy Walker, Lane Boozler, uh, Robin Williams. All those people came through Westwood from time to time. Uh, on occasion, I would see them out at Sunset. There were so many. The late great Richard Lewis was out
Mm.
there. Yeah, it was an amazing. Steve Landisberg. There's so many, so many. It
Wow.
was an amazing. In Virginia, I didn't know any stand-ups. I'd never been to a club, so to go out there and get passed immediately, and then I'm hanging out with all these people that I've been watching on TV for years. It was amazing, very
Was
exciting.
was it Mitzi Shore who was passing people at the time?
Yeah.
And how was your relationship with Mitzi Shore?
Cordial. I worked. I worked in. Yeah, we weren't buddies. We did. I was only one time was I ever out with her socially with a bunch of other comics and office workers. But when we saw each other, we were cordial. So
Yeah.
it's a friendly
Well, that's
relationship.
and what was your comedy like then? Because I know now you're. Some people say you're the king of the one-liners, which your construction of jokes is so minimalistic and precise. I mean, you're really, really a good joke writer. Were you? How did you learn how to write jokes back then? And were you writing the same
I,
kind of jokes?
yeah, the style has always been one-liners. Has always
Yeah.
been one-liners. It was one-liners before I got into comedy. That's how I made my friends laugh. Uh,
Yeah.
and I learned how to do it by doing it.
Just by doing it.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
did the structure suddenly appear to you, or did you just knew it instinctually?
A little of both. If you're a comic, if you're meant to be doing stand-up comedy,
Hmm.
you have an ear for comedy. So
Hmm.
that you come up with an idea and you hear how it ought to be worded. You just hear it in your mind. You hear, well, I got too many words in there. Once you get on stage, okay, I got too many words in there. I don't have enough words in there. Um, I need a different word instead of the one I was using. Uh, but it was mostly learned by doing.
Yeah.
Y-
I'm going to play a clip of yours here, just so people see a little bit of your comedy.
Every time I leave my apartment, I have to go back because I forgot something. Tonight, I reached for my wallet, and wouldn't you know it, I'd forgotten my pants. I found this new technique which has improved my memory. I quit listening to people, so I have less crap to remember.
I love it. Oh, good. We got some light. Got a little bit of light. If you put a light in front of you, that's when we're going to be able to see your face a little better.
I don't have any. Yeah, unfortunately,
No worries.
the computer's on a very small desk, and there's no room
Okay.
in front for a lamp.
No worries. We can hear you great, which is perfect.
Good.
And we also have these clips to see your beautiful face. We have a question from the chat room. What were your topics when you were younger?
Mostly I did a lot of a thin person. I did a lot of thin jokes because that was just, my physical appearance. So that
Yeah.
seemed like an obvious way to go. And then there were no um, specific topics that I went to. I was all over the place as far as topics
Yeah.
go. For a while I tried some political humor. I did not write very good political jokes, but I'd write. I make up jokes about mythical girlfriends just because I came up with a joke. You got to attach it to somebody, so I would attach it to a girlfriend. So I was all over the place topic wise.
Do you?
Now I've
Yeah. Now, yeah.
now I talk about being 74 years old. I talk about being a recovering alcoholic, which is to say, I talk about when I was a drunk.
Hmm.
I talk about ex girlfriends. And then I have my favorite section is back to the beginning. It's just random jokes, kind of like maybe you might have heard from the original king of one-liners, Henny Youngman. This topic, that topic, just all over the place. I love doing that, but there are some designated uh, uh, topics, like I say, drunk and
Was
age,
that a
and
trap back then? Well, and is it still a trap for comedians to, you know, succumb to alcohol and drugs? This is you with Bill Hicks, I think, back in the day.
Bill, young Bill Hicks. Look at that. That's in the green room at the Comedy Workshop in Houston,
Oh,
which is
wow.
where so many people started, Bill among them. Uh,
Wow.
Sam Kinison started there. Brett Butler started there.
Hmm.
Thea Vidal started there. T-Shawn Shannon. It was a great place. It's
Hmm.
a great place. Um, let's see. Oh, as far as alcohol goes, look, I was an alcoholic uh, before I got into comedy.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
I'd been a drunk since, I guess maybe age 19, and I didn't go out to uh, LA until I was 27.
Hmm.
So I had and being in a nightclub, being in comedy clubs, hanging out with other people that drank heavy, that didn't help. That encouraged it, made it easy. But no, I can't blame comedy for my drinking.
Did you
Or
meet Bill in Los Angeles or did you meet him in Houston?
I met him in Los Angeles, and he's one of the reasons I came to Houston.
Hmm.
I was out in Los Angeles, and Bill and Jimmy Pineapple and Riley Barber, all from Houston, came out to LA to do comedy. Well, one by one, for a variety of reasons, each one of them moved back to Houston. And one day in September of 81, uh, they gave me a call and said, "Look, you need to come to Houston. There's more stage time in Houston. You'll get all the stage time you need." In Los Angeles, my stage time was very erratic. Mitzi would give me a lot of spots for a couple of weeks and then nothing for a month and then maybe another week and then nothing for 4 months. I mean, it was very frustrating and very erratic. But the guys told me Houston, a lot of stage time, and they were right.
Hmm.
Best thing I
Right.
ever did was move to Houston.
So
And
would you recommend that? I mean, these days it seems like it's a similar kind of thing with a lot of different communities. Like I was in Michigan and there was a thriving comedian community there, and it seemed like people were getting a little bit more time. Is that something you would recommend to comedians that are coming up that maybe like start where you are?
yeah, from what I understand and what I know, uh, stage time, if you're just starting out, stage time in Los Angeles and New York, extremely difficult,
Hmm.
extremely difficult. Um, so I would find if your community has one, stay there. Stay there till you get real good. Then go to New York or Los Angeles.
It makes
Um,
sense because there's a lot of opportunity in Los Angeles, but there's just so many shows going on and so many, there's only so much audience to see the
yeah,
shows that
yeah,
it becomes kind of difficult. But in maybe a place that is not like Los Angeles or New York, people might be more interested in seeing the shows because there aren't as many.
Yeah, and yeah, so there's more stage time, um, and more stage time on a weekly basis. Sometimes there, in some communities, you can do a couple of shows a night. So if it's not, if where you are doesn't have a thriving community, look around. Maybe you move to Houston, maybe you move to Atlanta, maybe you move to Detroit or Madison, Wisconsin. I
Chicago.
mean, yeah, Chicago's a great.
Yeah.
Uh, Austin, Texas is a very popular
Very
uh,
popular now. Yeah.
community now. So, they're all over the place. Certainly not like when I started in 1977. Like I said, I had a very few choices. Now I got lucky and made the right choice, and I got lucky after I got there. But uh, today, do a little bit of research.
Now, Bill Hicks is one of these people that comedians to this day look back and they're sort of as the comedian's comedian. What do you think what was his style like? Do you think that was so appealing to a lot of comedians as an inspiration?
I think Bill's strongest point, he's a terrific performer, and he wrote great material. But man, he really believed what he said. He had a deep emotional commitment to his material, and I think people did nothing superficial about Bill's act, and I think that's what appeals to. And he took risks that maybe some comics wish they would take, but they don't because it's risky. But Bill took those risks, was absolutely fearless, and I think that's what appealed. Plus, he was damn funny.
Yeah. Did you run across Stephen Wright, who was also a one-liner kind of comedian?
Well, never met Stephen Wright.
Never
No.
met him. That's
And
interesting.
of course, I've watched his act,
Yeah,
but I've never met him.
that's interesting.
It's tough getting older. Looked up, saw that light, started to walk towards it. I asked Siri a question about my life expectancy, and she changed the subject.
It's hilarious.
What's the club in your background, Joel?
Oh, this is just a virtual club that I had an AI design for me.
Oh, how interesting.
It's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, AI. I'm telling you what.
So much stuff going on out there with the AI. What do you think about artificial intelligence? Any ideas about where that's
I
going?
have no use for it. I have no use for it. And I honestly don't know that our society has a need for it.
Yeah, I'm
But,
not sure either.
It's past that point now. I mean, it's going to happen, and it's going to develop how it develops, and nothing I can do about it now. Nothing you can do about it now.
I think it's funny that they think we want robots in our house. Like, what are we going to have them do? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
And then like everybody's going to be out of a job because these things will be doing our jobs for us. And
I
it's
don't-
not
I
like
have-
they're going to give us free money. I don't think. It seems like
Nope.
our replacements are coming and we're just like going, what the hell? What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll be gone before it's full blown.
Some
You'll
of
be
us-
on your own, Joe.
I'll be
Sorry.
on-
You'll be doing lunch therapy with robots.
robots. Oh my
How
God.
satisfying will that be?
Not
We all-
very.
you know,
Well, I always think that, I feel like for entertainment, we're much more interested in seeing human struggles than we are seeing robots put away our groceries. But I don't know.
That's what I was just talking about with Bill. Jokes, for instance, the best jokes are jokes that have an emotional, that the comic has an emotional connection to,
Yeah.
and that there's an emotional depth to it. You're not going to get that from a robot.
No.
Now you might get serviceable jokes that you could do at a business luncheon, where jokes that aren't going to offend anybody and that aren't going to really pop in a big way. They can serve that function, but who's interested in that?
Yeah, I don't know who's interested in that. It's hard to say what people are interested in. You know, when you were on America's Got Talent, which was first of all, it's so interesting because I'll just explain this because I can't show the clip, but you went on America's Got Talent, killed, and Howie Mandel suddenly like recognized you from there because I guess he had started out at the same time you had. But then at the same time, Mel B, Scary Spice, she didn't even understand what you were talking about. She kept saying, "I don't
Yeah,
understand." What happened there?
I don't know what's not to understand. She said she didn't understand the jokes. Well, these aren't. I think they're bright jokes,
Yeah,
but they're not
brain surgery
remote.
jokes. Yeah,
Yeah, they're esoteric jokes or punchlines or topics, easy to understand. So I don't know. You know, America's Got Talent posted the clip of my appearance, and then there's a thread, people making comments.
hmm,
And from what I gather from the thread is she's she has trouble with any comic that's on there. She doesn't understand anything. So
yeah,
I don't know if this is like a running
running
joke with her,
gag. That could
yeah, a
be.
character she's playing, or if she's really didn't understand the jokes.
Yeah, it might just be a gag. They have a lot of gags on that show.
Yeah.
Do you think so it was weird because you passed the auditions, but then you weren't in the competition, or were you? Or what happened there?
Yeah, you know what, Joel? I don't know. They changed the rules all the time, I
Yeah.
think. But what happened was there's different rounds. What you saw on TV, that was the first round, and I think that's called the judges round.
Hmm.
Anyway, I got 3 out of 4 votes
Yeah.
uh, in my favor, so I advanced to the second round. Now, what I understand is in the second round, the producers, of which there had to be 87 backstage, there were just producers
Really,
all over.
producers all over the place.
Yeah. And so in the second round, the producers decide who goes on to the third round. So I advanced to the second round, and then the producers decided I wasn't going to advance to the third round.
Those darn producers, they get in the way of everything.
Well, I had my own particular producer for when I appeared
Hmm.
on the show, and she was telling me, you're gonna make it, you're gonna make it, you're gonna make it. You did make it. So I don't. I would love to talk to him, just
Yeah.
not out of any sort of hostile
Just to find
reaction.
out what happened. Yeah.
Curious, what was the thinking on it? But anyway, the only advantage, I certainly enjoyed it, and if I advanced to the third round, that'd have been one more appearance on TV, which would have, helped.
Well, the way you deliver your comedy is suited well for that kind of venue because you can do a longer version or a shorter version and it always plays. It's not like you have to go on there and tell a story or give them some kind of backstory. You have so much material. I watched your special and it was just hilarious. And almost like the audience laughed so much. I imagine they're exhausted by the end. How many jokes are there? How many jokes do you tell in that?
I think in the special, punchlines and tags
Yeah,
total, I think it was 199. I counted one time,
you did.
and I listened to the special and counted it, and I may have miscounted at some point, but about that many. Whenever the subject comes up, and I time it, I average about 4 laughs per minute.
Wow. That's,
So over the course of,
that's amazing. And it was,
yeah,
like a 45-minute set. And
sure.
and you're touring too. Are you still touring?
I'm going out more and more. Because of the special,
Hmm.
uh, we got some of the links from the special on
Yeah.
Instagram and TikTok, and then I did a don't tell. You've
Yeah.
already seen a clip from the
Yeah.
don't tell 10-minute special. They put some clips on Instagram, and that has resulted in a lot of work. So I've been going out more and more.
Oh, that's great.
Last week I was in Atlanta. Uh, 3 weeks ago I was in Los Angeles, and it's I'm doing another Don't Tell special. I'm going to Europe in March of 2025. So yeah, it's an odd career out at age 74.
It's so
I,
great to see. I mean, because people, people, it's unexpected, but it's just, you never know when things are going to really like light up for you.
yeah, well, it helps if you love what you do. It helps if you're good at what you do and you love it. And I don't have a family, so I can afford to hang in there
Yeah.
through some lean times because I don't have to feed anybody other than myself. Um, so that helps. I'm sure you wouldn't be. You probably know a few people that had a lot of talent, but they wanted a family
Yep.
or they wanted something more stable sooner.
Hmm.
Not everybody can afford to wait around for it to kick in at age 60.
And it takes a lot of focus and consistency, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all about consistency. You can't be a Hall of Famer once a month.
Yeah. It's
It's,
like being an Olympic athlete sometimes.
yeah.
The also, what do you do on a regular basis to write material? Do you have like a discipline that you do, or do things just come to you, or what's your
I,
process?
yeah. Somebody once pointed out you can't sit around and wait for the muse to strike.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to sit down and just grind it out. So that's what I try to do every day. I've had a pretty, I've had a successful couple of 3 days, and I'm going to get back at it as soon as we're done here. But yeah, it's again, I this is what I do. If I'm not on the road, I have nothing else to do but to write. So yeah, I got a yellow legal pad and a ballpoint pen, and I just sit down and grind it out.
Do you do note cards or anything like that?
You know what I have?
Hmm.
I write I write it out on legal pad, then I transfer it to a index card,
Hmm.
and then I have an index card box
Yeah.
that that I keep. I have a box full of the material I'm presently using. I have a box full of jokes that used to work, and I'm just not using them anymore. I have a box full of cards that of jokes that never worked.
You
But I
do, but you want to make them work.
Yeah, I like the idea behind them, and sometimes I'm a bit puzzled as to why it didn't work. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So I'll try it again. Maybe I'll pull it out and rewrite it, and maybe I'll pull it out and just do it as is to see if it works. Every once in a while, it does. But yeah, I legal pad to index card to my head.
Yeah, it seems like so. As you get older, is it more difficult to like keep track of the jokes that you've already told? Like, do you keep them in groups in your mind? Like, do you say now I'm going to tell jokes about the fact that that I can't stand up and do comedy anymore, and now I'm going to do jokes? How does it? How do you group it in your head, or do you use notes, or do you write it
One
on your
night,
hand?
to to memorize them, I have to group them. I
Hmm.
can't. I have one section where I jump all over the place, and
Hmm.
when I do that, um, I really have to focus, and I really have to know what the jokes are, so I can go back and get them all.
Yeah.
But after that, I have a bunch of I have jokes about women that are grouped together,
Hmm.
jokes about being old that are grouped together. Just makes it easier to
Yeah.
remember.
It's also easier for the audience to follow as well, probably. But there is some benefit in jumping around. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed this. Sometimes if you just slam into a different topic from another one, that alone can get you, some juice.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
that makes it a little. I don't know. It's different enough. I don't know if exciting's the right word, but if you don't know what the next topic is going
Yeah.
to be necessarily, maybe it's a little thrilling. Like what's happening next. So I don't know. It's a lot of fun for me to do that. The downside, as I was just saying, is it's difficult
Yeah.
to memorize the jokes when
Oh, yeah.
you do that. So and what I got to do is I got to go over the act virtually every day. I ought to do it every day.
Hmm.
I don't, but uh, that's
I
what
love it.
needs to be done because you know what? My memory isn't as good as it used to be.
Hmm.
So I started walking towards the stage 3 comics ago. 40 years ago, when I started doing stand-up, everyone told me it was a great way to meet women. We'll see. I joined a dating site for people my age called Carbon Dating. I asked a woman on the site for her number. She told me it was 140/95.
I love that. I really, when they say one-liner, usually one-liners are like a setup and a punchline, but you have some that are just flat out one-liners. Like I just paid off my student loans. Like that's a good
Yeah,
opener for you.
yeah.
Do you have to, it seems like a lot of times writing jokes is taking away, just, trying to overly describe something and getting it down to just like what the words that just need to be there.
Oh yeah, that when I rewrite a joke, I'll write a joke, and I've been writing jokes for 45 years or
45
more.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, or more. Um, and I still make the same mistake as uh, in that I overwrite. I always have to when I rewrite, I have to go back in and take words out because that really isn't necessary. That
Yeah.
really, to go from one line to get a laugh from one line to a second line, you have to be real precise. You can't, crowd it. You can't crowd it with a lot of unnecessary information. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is usually when something happens. It doesn't matter that it was a Tuesday afternoon when I asked that woman out for a date. Doesn't matter that it was a Tuesday afternoon. Now it kind of adds a little bit of context to it, but you know you don't need a lot of context for a one-liner. You just need specific information.
Yeah.
That's why there's not a lot of uh, cursing during my act. Not that I object to that, not at all, but it just usually doesn't help. It just usually, it makes things crowded. It's unnecessary.
And when you do
Um,
use it, it's very powerful. Like, because
well,
like, I know
because
you
it's
said the F word, like at least once. And when you
yeah,
do it, it's reserved enough that it's kind of startling, I think.
well, I tell you, the way I use it, and I think that's probably the way most people use it, uh, whether they're a comic or not, is that I use it. It's not a word. It's because words have definition. When I say, "Leave me the f alone," f doesn't have a definition in that sentence.
It's true.
It doesn't. What it is,
You're right.
is punctuation. It's
Yeah.
an exclamation point um, in the middle of a sentence, and that's how I use it. Is to you know being being angry is funnier than being annoyed, and
Hmm.
an extra exclamation point makes you angry, and that's just if there's no better word if you want to express anger or frustration, and it's just funnier,
Yeah.
and the audience. Uh, well, I have a joke. It's in the special, I think, but at any rate, I was using it. Somebody gave me the line, and I was using it without any cursing.
Hmm.
And one night, I threw the F word in there, and I was doing it without any cursing, was not getting any laughs at all.
Hmm.
Well, one night I decided I threw in the F word. It got a big laugh, and I told the audience, "Okay, this one's on you." I I tried it without the F bomb, and y'all wouldn't laugh. Okay, so get off my back.
Do you
And
know?
it is funnier to people just because it's angrier.
Yeah. Do you ever do, and from you too, it doesn't have the same, because maybe it's because you're older. I don't know. Or maybe it's because you're sitting in a chair. It's not threatening at all. Not, you know?
No, no. Just as a matter of fact, I've started just standing straight up.
Oh yeah.
And Mike, I no longer sit, but I always have a stool up there just in case, because I do have a bad back that gets
I
sore
love
every
your
once.
joke about that too.
Yeah,
That when you started out, the comedy was the hard part. And that's the
yeah,
thing, is you sit down in a chair and you say, when I started out, the comedy was the hard part. I don't know if that's exactly what you say, but you don't even say, you don't over explain it at all.
yeah. Oh no, it's you gotta. There are a lot of jokes where you can let the audience do a little bit of work,
They figure it out. Yeah. They're like stand up.
and plus, that's just more concise.
Yeah.
I could say so. If anytime you can eliminate a word or two and still get the laugh, do it.
Do you ever teach people, or do you ever take classes or anything like that?
Yeah, I have a standing. One time I taught we called it a seminar really, and I just talked to a bunch of people, but it wasn't an ongoing class. I have a standing offer to any comic in Houston. If uh, if they buy me breakfast, I'll talk comedy to them
That's great. That's great because you have a
all
lot
day.
of knowledge to impart
Yeah,
about
and
that.
I don't. I'm not. I don't know everything. I have opinions, and I'm more than happy to uh, express my opinions, but they're not written in stone. Uh, I end up telling people at the beginning and at the end, and probably several times in between, uh, if you're a comic, and when I say if you're a comic, if that's what you ought to be doing, and if you think funny, and if you think comedically, then do what you think is funny, and keep what the audience thinks is funny. It
Hmm.
really isn't that difficult. I
Yeah.
mean, the point is to get laughs. So if they laugh, keep it. If they don't laugh, get rid of it. But by
Yeah.
all means, do everything you think is funny, and take it and go from there.
Do you ever? So, what do you do about new jokes? Do you put them into your routine? Do you go to an open mic? Where do you go test things out that are,
I test I test something out every time I'm on stage,
you do?
paying gig or non-paying. There's a great room in Houston. Uh, if you have any listeners in that area,
Yeah.
it's 2010 Wall in the Montrose area. It's called the Riot. It's in a bar restaurant called Rudyard's. It's upstairs. It's called the Riot. Every Monday I go by there and test
Oh, great.
new jokes. And the great thing about one-liners and we get 5 minutes, but the great thing about one-liners is I can get a lot of one-liners tested
Hmm.
in 5 minutes. So
Do
it's
you
perfect for.
do you ever do like rants or anything like that? Do you ever rant to find comedy? Rant
No,
about something? No.
no, in the privacy of my apartment.
Do you ever try different styles of comedy
Nope,
out, like storytelling or anything like that? No.
nope,
You're like
not interested.
hardcore. You're hardcore.
Yeah,
I like it.
and never even close. Never even close. Trying nuts. I just love one-liners.
How important is being personal in writing one-liners? Being,
Oh,
personal
it's not.
about your life.
I think it helps, but it's not
It's
necessary.
not even necessary. One of the
You
things
know,
that's great about you too is you can connect with any audience. Doesn't matter what their politics are. Doesn't matter where they're located. You could even like go someplace and have a translator, and probably people would be laughing because your jokes are so just funny on their own. Like you could write them down and people would laugh.
um, I'm very lucky that way. I don't try to write material aimed at a particular demographic,
Hmm.
but as it happens, uh, I do very well with 20-year-olds, and I do very well with 70-year-olds, and most of the stops in between. And uh, that's just they're
I
just good jokes.
I love that at in your special at the very end, you have people, audience members, saying your jokes, their
Oh
favorite
yeah,
jokes.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
And they're
Slade,
young people, older people, whatever. It's all of these different, I guess they're comedians, right?
yeah, I think they all were.
Hmm.
No, well, one wasn't, but He used to do stand-up. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember everybody that did it.
Wow.
But the director was a gentleman by the name of Slade Ham, a
Mhm.
fine comic himself. He produced and directed it, and that was his idea. Was
That's a
just
great idea. So it's just
yeah.
after the show they went out and were like, "What's your favorite Joker?" Is that what they did? Or
It
what?
was no, it wasn't after the show, but it was some point
Oh,
after the special was taped. They got together at another venue actually and taped it.
do you
So yeah,
ever
that was,
did you ever write for television or write for other comedians?
I have written a couple of jokes that Jay Leno did,
Hmm.
and I wrote a couple of jokes, and this was back in the early '90s that Billy Crystal did on the Academy Awards.
Oh,
I
really?
knew, yeah, I did. I knew one of the writers on the staff, and I had a couple of jokes that I thought might work. So I sent them to my friend who brought them into the writer's room. And so he did one one year, and then I think maybe two the next year. And then I've had about maybe when Jay Leno was um, hosted the Tonight Show.
Hmm.
This was probably back in the '90s too. He did a couple of jokes.
And do you recently came out to Los Angeles again? Have you done any of the clubs here in a while?
No, I had there was a benefit that I did, and I forget the name of the theater, real nice theater, but it was comics and musicians, and it was benefiting the homeless. And then that was a Thursday night. Saturday night, I did a private party at Wolfgang Puck's
Oh,
uh,
really?
restaurant, so I
Wow.
didn't get a chance to go to any of the any of the clubs.
So do you ever do
So
like corporate events or anything like that?
yeah, I had a corporate in Atlanta last week. I have had a corporate in Charlotte a couple of months ago, and I have a corporate in January or February in Chicago.
And how
So
how do you line those up? Do you have a manager that does this, or how does
I have a
that work?
terrific manager, Tommy Barrett's a terrific manager. He's done so much for me. They get a hold of they people like a lady in Atlanta saw one of my reels
Hmm.
on Instagram.
Hmm.
Uh, we'd like to have him. So they get a hold of Tommy. They see me on the internet. They get a hold of Tommy.
Yeah, that's how I got a hold of you. Is that through through one of my viewers saw you on Instagram and was like, "You got to get Andy Huggins on your show."
Oh, well,
This
I
guy's
met
name
you.
is Richard Gaddis. Yeah, he's not here in the chat room today, but I'm sure he'll be watching this later. But thank you to Richard Gaddis for pointing out Andy because he was
Indeed.
just really vibing on your jokes.
Yeah, very good. Very
Yeah,
good. Thank you, Richard.
that's cool. All right, so now we have to end the show pretty soon here, but I want to show your website for people that are, obviously interested in booking you or going to see you. Here's the schedule. It's oldmanhuggins.com.
Yep.
Oldmanhuggins.com. Check it out. Also, there is the special. You can watch that on Amazon Prime, or you can watch it. It's in a lot of different venues. I think, is it Comedy Dynamics that put it out?
Comedy Dynamics bought it and they placed it with Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Google Play, YouTube.
Yeah. So,
Um, you can listen to it on Spotify, and I think Sirius now, but I'm not sure about that. Tubi, is there something called Tubi?
yeah, there's something called Tubi. I think it's on there too.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, it's there also.
that's
So,
cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it, Andy, taking the time. You're just such a wealth of information, and you're just an inspiration for all of us. So
well, I would
thank
like
you.
to point out that on occasion I do wear something other than a gray sweatshirt.
Yeah. What was up with your wardrobe on America's Got
Yeah,
Talent? That's you right
I,
there.
yeah, um, yeah. That's America's Got Talent. And on the right, I don't know where that's
You're right.
from,
You
but
got a gray sweatshirt there too.
yeah, I can do a little better than that. Geez, I got gray hair, gray mustache,
And
kind
did,
of gray skin. gray sweatshirt. That's just not good. I think I saw a question from
Yeah.
one of your
Yeah.
listeners about influences.
Yes.
Is that
Yes. Howard had said that. Right.
okay, Howard? Real quickly, any comic that was ever on Ed Sullivan was an influence just by the fact that they existed, that there were people that told jokes. I love those guys and a couple of ladies. But the biggest early influence was probably Woody Allen. In
Oh,
fact,
really?
without a doubt,
It's
Woody
so
Allen.
interesting because you had said that about your cards, your note cards, that you would have these box, and he would have like a drawer of movie ideas that he would
Yeah,
throw like the ideas in there. And when he went to make a movie, he'd be like, "How about this one?" That's what he
yeah,
says, at least.
yeah, yeah. I don't doubt it. Yeah, I have Woody Allen was, and of course, I loved and was an influence. I mentioned earlier Henny
Henny
Youngman,
Youngman.
also Dangerfield.
Oh, Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just all
Those are
one-liners. Yeah.
so great.
Now, the best comic I ever saw in my life and was an inspiration uh, in his own way was Richard Pryor.
Oh,
I've
yes.
never seen anybody better than Richard Pryor. And growing up, two people that and they weren't stand-ups, but they were just I just love these people. The Marx Brothers and W.C. Fields.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. Yes.
And they were inspirations in that they were funny people. And
Would
that's what
you?
they did. I mean,
wh- What about Don Rickles? Is Don Rickles an inspiration of yours?
yeah, Rickles fun.
So
Rickles
he's really fun.
was fun. Yeah.
Such great comedians. People can find all of these comedians on YouTube. That's one of the great things about YouTube is that you can see
Oh, it's wonderful.
anybody that you want to, you can see. And so these people like live on and through that. So that's really wonderful. And it's also inspiring. Do you think comedy has changed? How do you think comedy has, this is a big question, but how do you think comedy has changed since you started? The
What
comedians
you
that
can
come out.
talk about has broadened. Uh, there was a time where if you talk politics, you were kind of gentle about it,
Hmm.
kind of tiptoe around it. Now you may tiptoe around it today, but not for the same reason.
Yeah.
But it's cruder, I think.
Hmm.
A lot of the material's cruder. Happily, it's now open to more. It's open to women to a degree that it never was
Hmm.
before. Um, it's open to different races and ethnicities
Hmm.
that it never was before. All
Hmm.
that's to the good. And then, of course, it used to be the late night. Late night, that's where uh, uh, you made your mark. That's how you made a big leap forward with getting on late night. I was talking to a buddy yesterday, and we agree. The Don't Tell network
Hmm.
much bigger will do you much more good now than a late night shot.
What is that? Can you tell us a little bit about that Don't Tell network? Do they bring you out and shoot it like they do the Dry Bar or something, or how does that work?
It's not unlike Dry Bar. Yeah, they I did mine in San Diego, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm doing a 30-minute Don't Tell
Oh,
in
wow.
March
Great.
in March in San Diego also. But the premise behind Don't Tell was that, and they had a bunch of them in a lot of different cities, and there were
Hmm.
one in Houston. They people would buy tickets, but they wouldn't tell the people where the show was or who was on it
Oh,
until the day of. Don't tell, uh, which I never understood.
yeah.
The but it worked. They always had, but evidently at some point, and I didn't realize at first how big they'd gotten, but they have expanded their operation to where now they take people, and I think it's still done in you. And that was also the part of Don't Tell was always in a unique venue like a physical fitness center
Oh,
or a
really?
bookstore, something like that.
Yeah.
So now they're still doing that. Um, they now they let people know when the show is, but uh, not that, as you can as you see from my t- uh, tape,
Yeah.
they do an excellent job. It
Oh,
just looks
yeah.
real.
It looks great.
Sounds real. Yeah. And so now, I've done. Mine was released 4 months ago, and I'm up to 3.6 million views.
Son of
So
a
that's
gun.
just yeah. I mean,
3.6 million views.
yeah,
Wow.
that's so much more views than you would get on a late night talk show
Yeah. Yeah.
these days.
It's these days.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's Don't Tell. You go to Don't Tell Comedy,
Don'tTellComedy.com. Yeah.
yeah, and that's Andy Huggins and King of the One-Liners is how they build it.
That's
It wasn't
cool.
quite that presumptuous, but they decided that was a good.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Like one of the thumbnails said "King of the One-Liners." It's cool,
Yeah,
and then but it delivers. You deliver, so it's
yeah.
great.
Well, Henny Youngman used to be known as the King of the One-Liners.
Yeah.
So and for some
Did
reason
you ever
nobody.
see Henny Youngman live?
No,
No.
no.
He had a violin, right?
Oh yeah, had a violin, and he always brought it out with him. But at some point, he stopped using it.
He did.
Every once in a while, he'd use it as a segue between jokes.
So weird.
Yeah,
So fun. I love that the things like that people do in spite of what other people would say, like, why are you carrying a violin? But for
Yeah.
him it works.
yeah. He'd use the bow as kind of a meter,
Yeah.
timing the jokes, doing the jokes. So yeah,
Wow.
needless to
Plus,
say,
he's known like even now today. Like I don't know a lot about Henny Youngman, but I knew he had carried a violin.
yeah,
So he's
yeah.
like it stands
Told
out.
one-liner. That's
Yeah.
all you need to know about Henny Youngman. He had a violin and he told one line.
I'm gonna have to watch him on YouTube
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have to end the show, but at the end of the show, we play a YouTube cover song. Just kind of dance around, just play a little bit of it, and say goodbye and thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Andy, for sharing your time with us today.
Well, I hope it was sufficient and entertaining. I
It's
enjoyed
wonderful.
myself.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. It's one of the things about comedy is if you're enjoying yourself, oftentimes other people are too. Hopefully.
Almost every time.
Almost every time. That's right. All right, let's do this thing. We'll see you soon, Andy. Hope to see you live soon.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joel.
You ain't got no.
So this is Handmade Moments playing Shaka Khan. They're in a rowboat.
What I got will show up.
Love her voice.
All right.
Thanks everybody for being here.
You free.
Howard,
You
Ginny,
to
Todd,
put anything
Matt,
before your
Kamala,
pride.
Greg Wordala. Pass this around, especially to your comedian friends.
And what I got will knock your pride and shine. Tell something good. Tell that you like it. Yeah. Tell something good. Ooh. Tell me. Tell that you love me. Yeah.
All right, we'll see y'all next week for more lunch therapy.
Got no